Gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Ryan Mickler, and I am the host and the founder of this podcast and the Order of Man movement. Thank you for being here. It's evident to me that this message of reclaiming and restoring masculinity is needed now. I don't know if it's more than ever, but there's certainly a need, a strong need in society for what it is we're doing. I mean, we've faced some challenges and some hardships in society. I think about the Greatest Generation. I think about World War II. And I think about times before that. I would say, relatively speaking, we live in some pretty comfortable times, although there seems to be a lot of doubt and uncertainty and confusion and violence and frustration. But I know that we live in better times than we used to. But that said, in the midst of the violence and the chaos and the disorder and the confusion and frustration and animosity and everything that seems to be so prevalent these days, it is painfully obvious to me that our ability to step up as men is so critical within the walls of our home, within the communities that we represent, within the businesses that we're running and that we're part of. And it's my job to give you everything that you need: tools, resources, frameworks, this conversation, interviews that we do with other incredible men. That's my job, is to give you those tools and resources. And it's my hope that we give you things that will serve you and that will add value to your life. And not only your life, but the lives of the people that you have a responsibility and obligation for. And as a man, that is at the underlying foundation, the root of what it means to be a man, to be in service of other people, to produce more than you consume. And today's podcast and the things I wanted to talk with you about specifically are for the fathers out there, because I can't think of a more noble calling than that of father. It's difficult, it's frustrating, it's painful, it's a roller coaster ride of emotions and thoughts and ideas and perspectives, but all of that burden of responsibility, and it's a burden because it's heavy. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about that. All of that burden is worth bearing as a father. I became a father a little over 12 years ago. I've got 4 kids, 3 boys and a little girl. And I go to bed every night thinking I didn't do what I needed to do today as far as being a father. Like, I didn't lead as effectively as I could have been or I should have been, and I didn't give them as much attention as I could have, and I didn't do a good enough job raising them into the fine young men and women that they're going to become. So, I have a lot of sleepless nights because I'm a father. If you guys are fathers, and those of you who are listening are or have a desire to be, you know what I'm saying. You get it. You understand. But all of that pain and discomfort and growth that comes with it is worth it. Because when you look in your child's eyes and you see their growth and their progress and their curiosity and them learning new things and them becoming self-sufficient, that's very satisfying. It's very, very rewarding because you had a part to play in that. So what I thought I'd do today in light of it being Father's Day this weekend is to just honor you. That's it. Just to honor you as a father. There's a funny trend that I've seen over the past couple of years where people will honor single mothers who play the role of father. And while I can appreciate the perspective, I can appreciate that because that's hard work. It's hard work as a father, but I can't even imagine the amount of work that it would be required to not only be the mother, but play that fatherly role as well. So I can appreciate the sentiment, but this day's for you as a father, not a mother playing the role, but as a father. And I want to honor you. I want to honor you for the good work you do. I want to honor you for the silent victories. And they are silent, right? You're not going to get the praise or notoriety or accolades that you maybe normally would if you were to post something on Facebook. It's you reading to your kids at night. Yeah, nobody's going to see that. It's you praying with them and teaching them about the relationship with God. It's you coaching their baseball teams and their soccer teams and going to their dance recitals and playing dolls and dress up and having tea parties and playing games and doing all of these things that, people aren't going to see. They aren't going to see that. And so it might be tempting for you to think that that is irrelevant, that the work you're doing is not as impactful as it could be or otherwise should be. But I would suggest to you that the silent work you do, the work that nobody sees, is more advantageous and more valuable to society at large, but forget about society, to your children. That's how we impact culture, by the way. That's how we impact society, is we change the life of one individual. And you can do that by being the type of father that I know a lot of you guys are stepping into. You're engaged. You're offering guidance and discipline and structure and love and kindness and perspective that can't be received anywhere else. I, unfortunately, grew up without a permanent father figure in my home. My dad primarily was out of the picture by the time I was 3. Always had a decent relationship with him. Got to go visit him in the summers between school years. I wish would have had more time. Unfortunately, we don't. He's passed away a couple of years ago. I had a couple other stepfathers come into my life who were, there was glimpses, in all fairness. There was glimpses. There was moments of them stepping up the way that I perceive now what it means to be a good father. But generally, I don't think these guys were great examples of what it meant to be a husband, a father, a man in general. And so I never got that. I got that through some coaching, through some mentors, through the military, which are all great, by the way, but they're inferior to what a father brings. A permanent father figure in the home, present, engaged, tucking his kids in, wrestling with them, watching shows with them, answering their weird inquiries about everything from the opposite sex to sex in general to drugs and all these kind of weird conversations that frankly aren't real comfortable. I had to talk to my son just the other day about what a blowjob means. And although these types of conversations are not fun, it's a very awkward conversation to have with your son, I would rather him come to me and talk with me about that than him learning from his buddies. And this is just a small example of the role and the discomfort that comes with being a father. But it's crucial. The work you do behind closed doors, the work that nobody will ever see except for your son or your daughter and potentially your wife, is the most important work that you can do in society. That's not some just fluffy words. That's not hyperbole. The work you're doing as fathers is the most important work in society today. And I see these individuals who are angry and bitter and contentious and rebellious and afraid and confused. And I'd be willing to bet that the majority of these individuals either didn't have a father figure in the home or had a weak, pathetic, non-responsive father in the home. And it's creating problems. It's creating real problems in society. As I was preparing for this conversation, I'm going to pull these statistics up. Oh, looks like I deleted them. But as I was preparing for this conversation, I pulled up some statistics about fatherhood. And I'm going to pull these up. I thought I had them up, but apparently I deleted those, or I closed the windows down. Let me just look real quick, because these are very important figures here. I wish I had these ready here for you guys. Bear with me. Regardless, I want you to know how important it is, your work as a father. So check this out. So, when it comes to fatherless homes, for example, there's a 4 times greater risk of poverty. Children are more likely to behave or have behavioral problems. Incarceration, they're more likely to go to prison. They're more likely to commit crime. They're more likely to become pregnant as a teenager. They're more likely to face abuse and neglect. They're more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol. Two times more likely to suffer obesity. 2 times more likely to drop out of high school. If you look at any metric, any possible metric that you want your children to thrive in, school, substance abuse, unwanted pregnancy, having a father in the home is clearly an indicator of how important your work as a father is. So guys, I know it's discouraging at times. I know you're not getting the honor, the notoriety, the praise that maybe you deserve. But that's not why we do it anyways. We do it because we feel compelled and called, and there's rich blessings that come from leading your children well. The best memories I have in my life, and I'm 39 years old, and I've only been a father for 12 years. The best blessings in my life have come as a direct result of leading my children. That's it. Now, the thing that we need to understand and realize too with fatherhood is that it's a sacrifice. And you guys know that. Those of you who are dads, you know that. You've had to sacrifice relationships. You've had to sacrifice your own time, maybe even career pursuits and aspirations. That's a worthy sacrifice. In fact, I would argue it's not even a sacrifice at all, because what you get in return is so much greater than what you had to give up. And by definition, that's no longer a sacrifice. Man, I don't know like what else to say other than I want to honor you. Like your role in society, what you do, how you add value, how important your work is as a dad is crucial. It's crucial. So maybe what I can do over the next couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap things up, because again, this is just about telling you that you're doing a great job. It may not always feel like it. You may feel like you're floundering and kicking around and running around with like a chicken with its head cut off, and you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. That's the great secret. Nobody knows. You might look at me or somebody else and think, oh, that guy's got it figured out. Yeah, maybe we have some things figured out, but ultimately inside we're running around like chickens with their heads cut off too. We don't know what we're doing. We're trying to do the best that we can. And that's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to do, is the best you can. And I know that you are. I know if you're listening to this podcast and you're engaged in trying to improve yourself and listen to these messages that we share and the words that we hear from other incredible individuals, that you have aspirations to do more, to be more, to step up more fully. But what I could do is maybe share some insights with you as far as some practices that have worked well for me. Now, I'm not the best. I'm really not. I've got plenty of room for improvement. I'm impatient. I lose my temper at times. I disengage at times. All the things you do, guys, I do. I'm not above that. But there are things that I recognize, things that I acknowledge, and things that I'm trying to improve upon. But I think at its fundamental level, what you need to understand and realize, and then base all of your decisions and actions on, is that your job, and it is a job, guys. It's a job. It's a title. It's an honor. It's a calling, a blessing. I don't know whatever you want to call it, but what you need to understand is that there's work that needs to be done. And it's not always roses and fairy tales and sunshine. In fact, a lot of the times it isn't. It's those glimpses of the rainbow and the sunshine that make all of the cloudy days worth it, right? But what you need to understand at this most foundational, fundamental level is that it's your job to render yourself obsolete. It's your job to put yourself out of work, because you're not raising children. That's what a lot of people say. I'm raising my kids. You're not raising kids. You're raising future adults. Now you might say, oh, it's just semantics. And maybe it is. But maybe it's not. Maybe if you approached it from, hey, I'm not raising children, to I'm raising future adults, self-sustaining, self-sufficient, contributing members of society, then maybe you would change the way that you approach your work as a father. Maybe you'd be a little bit more intentional, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more patient, a little bit more considerate about the things that you're doing as a father. Because a lot of the times we're just reactionary, right? We're tired, we're frustrated, we're angry, we have a lack of patience. All of these things that I've talked about as being a natural man, those creep into our work as a father. But if you keep your eye on the prize that one day my children will go out into the great wide world and hopefully they won't need me anymore. That's the goal. They won't need me. They'll want me, because I want to be involved with my adult children when that time comes. I want to be familiar with them. I want to know their children, my grandchildren. I want to be involved in their lives forever. But I don't want to be needed. I don't want them to have to come crawling back to me and mom because they couldn't handle life. And if that's the case, I've got to question whether or not I did my job as a father. Right? Because if they come crawling back with their tail tucked between their legs because they can't handle what the world offers, then maybe I didn't introduce them to enough of the real world, and or I didn't fully equip them with the tools, the resources, and mindset they needed to be able to thrive in a hostile environment. And that's on me. And if we approach our roles and responsibilities as a father from the perspective of rendering ourselves obsolete, which, by the way, is not a comfortable thought. When I go to bed every night, my routine in the evening is I shut down the house, make sure the windows are closed, make sure the doors are locked, and then I go around to each of my 4 children and I make sure they're in bed and I make sure they're tucked in and I make sure they're comfortable and they're secure. We put the dogs away, like I lock everything down. And every night I go to bed wondering if I did enough for them. Did I do enough today? Did they feel loved? Did they feel appreciated? Did they feel encouraged? Were they pushed beyond their comfort zones? Did they learn something that would apply to their lives as they get older? These are questions that are constantly going through my mind. And those are good questions. They're painful at times because I'm like, man, I'm just putting myself out of work here. I just want to be with these kids forever. But we know that's not our job. And anything less than giving them what they need to be self-sufficient human beings, adults, is selfish. It is. It's selfish. If you're not having the kind of conversations that are uncomfortable, like I talked about earlier with sex and blowjobs and all these other drugs, my kids have talked to me about politics and drugs and all these other things. And I don't want to have any of those conversations. And it's not about them, it's about me. They're uncomfortable for me, let alone for them hearing about this stuff from their dad. That's weird. It was weird for you when you heard it from your parents, right? But we need to have these conversations, and we need to do this work, and it's good. It's valuable. It's important. And we can't not have the conversations in order to spare our own feelings of embarrassment or discomfort. Like, we need to have these conversations, and you guys are doing it. You guys are doing it. So again, I didn't have any notes prepared. I didn't have any thoughts really prepared outside of those statistics that I didn't even have those prepared because I closed the window. But I just wanted to honor you. And I just wanted to tell you how much I respect a man who is engaged and committed. You know, there's a lot of guys I admire and respect. There's a lot of people I've had on this podcast who are thriving on the entrepreneurial front, who are making lots of money, who are impacting lots of people, who are thriving in politics and athletics. And I don't want to discount any of that. All of that is wonderful. But you know, there's just a part of me that is reserved, and my level of admiration and respect for a man who really gets it done at home. You know? Like, just gets it done at home. Is there, is present, is available. Maybe he doesn't have the social media account. Maybe he doesn't have the bank account. You know, maybe he's not in the best physical condition. By the way, those are all things you should strive to improve. Okay, I'm not saying that they need to come at the expense of that. But if he's killing it at home, I'm like, man, there's something special about that guy. So I want you to be proud of the work that you're doing. You know, you're going to get a tie. You're going to get an ugly tie this weekend. Probably going to get some homemade arts and crafts. And all that stuff's good because of what it represents. But I just want you to take some pride in who you are and how you show up and your contribution not only to your children, your sons and daughters, but to society at large. So keep up the good work, gents. Let's keep these conversations going. I mean, this work is so, so crucial. And I hear from a lot of people who say things like, I want to change the world. I want to make a dent in the universe. I really want to have an impact. And all of that's noble. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I fall into that. You know, not even fall into it. I have those aspirations. But it starts with first you, then it applies to your immediate family, so your wife and your children. If you can focus on you and can really dial in who you are as a man, and you can dial in your efforts and your work as a father and a husband, that other stuff will come into play, and you can expand and broaden your perspective from there. But it all starts in the household, in the family, with your children, with your wife. And this weekend, Father's Day, is about you and acknowledging that. So, gentlemen, keep up the great work. And by the way, let me say this too. If you're a father whose children aren't in your home because of a divorce, a separation, some sort of circumstance like that, there's still work that you can do. All right, there's still work that you can do. You can still be a great father. I've got close friends. Sean Whalen, for example. He's a friend of mine. He's a mentor. He doesn't live with his kids full time, and yet he's a great father. He's somebody who is actively engaged and meaningful and purposeful with his children. You can be that. So take heart in knowing that even if you're not a permanent fixture in their life, you're not at home with them, that there's things that you can do. And there's ways that you can be involved. And they need that from you. And you need that from them. It's a reciprocal relationship. So guys, again, I'll end by just saying again that I honor you, that I respect you, that I admire you and your courage and your sacrifice and dedication to your children. I hope you have a great weekend with your kids, hopefully, and that you honor them and you cherish them and you love them and you respect them and you lead them the way they need to be led so that they can go out and raise their own families as mothers and fathers and husbands and wives, and the way that they're going to step up in their lives. So have a great weekend, guys. Man, just keep up the great work. You honor and inspire me by showing up. And man, I couldn't be more proud of the work you're doing. You know, I throttle a lot back in the business because my family is more important than any business venture I ever have. And so I'm not just paying this lip service. This is crucial work. And you are leading the charge. So keep up the good work. Guys, go out there, take action, and become the father and man that you are meant to be. Make it a great one, guys.